He is the savior of Roloff Farms, the calm after the storm of a toxic, decades-long divorce. The man who swept a reality TV icon off her feet at the age of 54. To the casual viewer, Chris Merrick is the perfect gentleman, opening car doors, organizing adventures, and smiling politely while the chaos of the Roloff family swirls around him. He is the happy ending Amy Roloff deserved after years of being undervalued. But in the history of human behavior, men do not simply wait until their mid-50s to marry for the first time without a reason. Is Chris Marek the patient saint the TLC producers want us to believe in? Or is his bachelor past a cover for a personality type that is practically incapable of love? Today, we unlock the 55-year black box of Chris Merrick. Before we descend into this rabbit hole, I need you to stop what you are doing. If you want to uncover the truth that TLC tries to edit out of every episode, you need to hit that like button right now. It tells the algorithm that we demand the truth. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Lpbw Update. We are building the biggest investigative community on the platform, and you do not want to miss the financial records expose we are dropping next. Join the team, hit the bell, and let's get into the darkness. Let's begin with the anomaly. We have to talk about the silence. In the age of social media, in the age of selling stories to tabloids, silence is the loudest noise in the room. When a normal person enters the orbit of a massive reality TV family, their past usually comes with them. High school sweethearts give interviews, ex-fiancés post old photos on Facebook, college roommates share drinking stories. But with Chris Marek, there is a void. We are looking at a man who lived 5.5 decades before appearing on our screens, yet his history is as clean as a scrubbed hard drive. From 1980 to 2016, Chris Marek existed in what we are calling the ghost years. Think about that time frame. He went through his 20s in the greed is good 80s. He went through his 30s in the grunge era of the 90s. He hit his 40s in the early 2000s. These are the prime years for dating, for mistakes, for long-term relationships that almost make it to the altar but fall apart. Yet, where are the women? Why are there no long-term ex-girlfriends coming out of the woodwork to sell their side of the story? In the reality TV ecosystem, exes always talk. They want their 15 minutes of fame they wait. They want the paycheck from Radar Online or The Sun. With Chris, we have absolute terrifying silence. This forces us to look at two distinct theories regarding his psychology. The first is the player theory. Was Chris a man who moved so quickly from woman to woman that none of them felt significant enough to claim him? A man who fears intimacy so deeply that he never let anyone get close enough to hurt him or to expose him? But players usually leave a trail of broken hearts and angry voices. Chris doesn't have that. That leads us to the second darker theory, the loner. The man who prefers the company of machinery to the company of people. We see glimpses of this in his obsession with motorcycles and solo camping. These are solitary activities. They are escapes. They are designed to take a man away from conversation, away from emotional labor, and into the wind where he doesn't have to answer to anyone. Psychological studies on men who marry for the first time after 50 often point to a deeply ingrained avoidant attachment style. These are men who view independence as survival. They don't just enjoy being alone. They need it to function. They view emotional dependency as a trap. So why, after 54 years of successfully avoiding the trap of marriage, did Chris Marek suddenly decide to walk into the most public, high-pressure, emotionally chaotic marriage trap in America? We are not looking at a sudden romantic awakening. We are looking at a calculation. When you analyze the timeline of his life, you realize that Chris Merrick didn't just meet a woman, he met an opportunity. And this brings us to the most contested narrative in the entire Little People, Big World canon, The Meeting. The official story, the one peddled by TLC and repeated in every glossy magazine interview, is that Chris and Amy met at a paint and sip event. It's a cute story. It's harmless. It paints the picture of a lonely single man trying to get out there and meet people, and a lonely divorcee trying to find herself. It's a romantic comedy, meet cute. But does it hold up to scrutiny? Let's look at the context. Amy Roloff was fresh off a massive, highly publicized divorce from Matt Roloff. The show was at its peak ratings. The tabloids were obsessing over who Amy would date next. And we are expected to believe that Chris Merrick, a successful real estate agent operating in Portland, Oregon, where the Roloffs are essentially local royalty, had no idea who she was. This is the "I didn't know who she was" lie, and it is the most common red flag in celebrity dating history. Let's break down the statistical probability of this claim. Chris works in real estate. Matt Roloff works in flipping houses, construction, and property development. They operate in the same ecosystem. The Roloff Farm is one of the most famous properties in the entire state of Oregon. It brings in thousands of tourists. It is a massive land asset. For a real estate agent in that specific county to lay eyes on Amy Roloff and not see the Roloff fortune is not just unlikely. It is professionally impossible. Realtors are master networkers. It is their job to know the movers and the shakers. It is their job to know who is buying, who is selling, and who is sitting on a gold mine. The theory that many insiders are whispering, but few are brave enough to say out loud, is that the paint and sip event wasn't a chance encounter. It was a prospecting event. Amy wasn't dating Chris Marek. She was a listing. She was a distressed asset with high potential. Think about it. He didn't approach a random woman. He approached a woman who was visibly vulnerable, publicly known to be wealthy, and notoriously insecure about her post-divorce future. This wasn't romance. This was lead generation. Furthermore, look at the timeline of his aggression. Usually, a 50-something bachelor who has avoided commitment his whole life would be terrified of a woman with 4 adult children, grandbabies, a chaotic ex-husband, and a camera crew following her every move. That is a nightmare scenario for a true loner. A man who values his privacy would run for the hills the moment the cameras showed up. But Chris didn't run. He walked right into the frame. He signed the release forms. He put on the microphone. Does that sound like a shy, private bachelor finding love? Or does that sound like a man who has been waiting 55 years for his close-up? We have to consider the fame hunger hypothesis. There is a specific type of personality that craves validation but lacks the talent or the drive to achieve it on their own merits. They wait, they watch, and when they see a vehicle that can take them to the promised land of notoriety, they attach themselves to it like a barnacle. Chris Marek lived a life of obscurity for decades. Suddenly, he is on television screens in millions of homes. He is being interviewed. He is being praised. He is the hero of the story. For a man with a hidden narcissistic streak, this is better than love. This is supply. But the cracks in the nice guy mask started to appear very early on if you knew where to look. Most viewers were so happy to see Amy smiling again that they ignored the subtle, controlling behaviors that Chris began to exhibit. We call this the nice guy mask slip, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. We need to conduct a microscopic analysis of his behavior regarding Amy's house. Do you remember the episodes leading up to the move? The way he spoke to her about her possessions wasn't the way a partner speaks to a partner. It was the way a parent speaks to a naughty child. He shamed her. He called her chaotic. He looked at her collections and her memories with visible disgust. Now, you might argue, but she is a hoarder. He was helping her. There is a difference between help and control. A partner helps you sort through your emotions to let go of things. A controller tells you that your way of living is wrong and that you must adopt their standard of perfection to be worthy of their presence. Chris wasn't trying to help Amy organize her home. He was trying to erase her identity and replace it with his own minimalist, sterile aesthetic. He wasn't moving in with Amy, he was colonizing her space. This dynamic became even more terrifying during the wedding planning. This was supposed to be Amy's fairy tale. This was her second chance to have the wedding she never got with Matt. But who took over? Who became the director of the production? Chris Marek. He obsessed over the details. He argued about aesthetics. He focused on how things would look to the guests and to the cameras rather than how things would feel for his bride. There were moments where Amy looked visibly deflated, where she realized her opinion was secondary to his vision. He wasn't acting like a groom, he was acting like a producer. He treated the wedding not as a union of souls, but as a branding event for the Chris and Amy entity. And then there is the body language. The body never lies. We have compiled a folder of clips that we call the pat on the back phenomenon. Watch closely the next time you see a rerun. Watch when Amy reaches out for emotional reassurance. Watch when she tries to hug him deeply. Chris almost always responds with a rigid posture. He offers a side hug. He pats her on the back, a gesture you give to a buddy or a teammate, not your wife. It is the universal signal for that's close enough. There is a coldness at the center of Chris Marek that the show tries to edit around, but they miss it in the background. Look at the scenes where they are at parties. Does he stay by her side, holding her hand, acting as a unit? No, he drifts. He leaves her alone. He goes to find the men. He goes to find the power in the room. And who is the power in the room? Matt Roloff. This brings us to the darkest, most uncomfortable theory of all, the Matt Roloff obsession. In the annals of divorce, there is a golden rule. You tolerate the ex-husband for the sake of the children, but you do not befriend him. You certainly do not idolize him. Yet, Chris Marek has broken this rule with a zeal that is, frankly, disturbing. We need to talk about the bromance. We need to talk about why Chris insists on being best friends with the man who allegedly caused his wife years of emotional trauma. If Chris were truly Amy's protector, if he were truly the knight in shining armor who saved her from a toxic marriage, he would keep Matt Roloff at arm's length. He would be cordial, sure, but he would prioritize Amy's comfort. Instead, we see the opposite. We see Chris seeking Matt out. We see them bonding over machinery. We see them having private conversations while Amy stands awkwardly in the background, looking like a third wheel in her own life story. Why does he do this? The answer lies in the alpha male dynamic. Chris Marek respects Matt Roloff. He respects the empire Matt built. He respects ruthlessness. There is a prevailing theory among body language experts who have watched their interactions that Chris actually sees himself in Matt, not in Amy. He looks at Matt's lifestyle, the big projects, the heavy equipment, the absolute control over the land, and he feels a kinship. He isn't dating Amy to heal her. He is dating Amy to gain access to Matt's world. Think about the conversations they have. They don't talk about emotions. They talk about business. They talk about the farm. They talk about the logistics of the pumpkin season. Chris enters a trance-like state when he is around Matt's projects. This leads us to the farm lust theory. And this is where Chris's profession as a real estate agent becomes the key that unlocks the entire mystery. To a real estate agent in Oregon, Roloff Farms is not just a home. It is the white whale. It is a multi-million-dollar piece of prime agricultural and commercial real estate. It is a legacy property. For decades, Chris looked at that farm from the outside, just a regular realtor riding his motorcycle past the gates. Now he has the keys. Now he can drive the tractors. Now he can walk the property lines with the owner. Is it possible that Chris Marek is playing the longest game in reality TV history? Some insiders suggest that Chris's fascination with Matt isn't just friendship, it's business envy. By marrying Amy, he didn't just get a wife. He got a seat at the table of the most interesting real estate development in the state. He inserted himself into the negotiations. He became a mediator. He positioned himself as the neutral party between Matt and Amy, which is a position of immense power. He is the broker of their emotions and potentially the broker of their assets. When Matt announced the sale of the north side of the farm, watch Chris's reaction. He wasn't sad for Amy. He was clinically interested. He wanted to know the numbers. He wanted to know the strategy. While Amy was mourning the loss of her family home, Chris was analyzing the market value. That is not the reaction of a loving husband. That is the reaction of a shark smelling blood in the water. So where does this leave us? If we strip away the TLC editing, the romantic music, and the carefully curated wedding specials, what are we left with? We are left with the safe bet hypothesis. This conclusion might be less dramatic than him being a secret villain, but it is far more human and far more depressing. The 55-year lie isn't that Chris Marek is a monster. The lie is that he is a romantic. He isn't. He is a pragmatist. Chris Marek reached the age of 55. He looked at his life. He had his motorcycle. He had his solo trips, and he had his freedom. But he also had a looming expiration date. He was aging. The real estate market is volatile. He had no children to take care of him, no legacy to leave behind. He was facing the second half of his life alone. And then he found the solution. He found Amy. Amy represented the ultimate safe bet. She came with financial security that few people achieve in a lifetime. She came with built-in fame that stroked his ego. She came with a family structure that, while chaotic, offered him a place to belong without having to do the hard work of raising children himself. He didn't marry for heart-pounding, soul-shaking love. If he was capable of that, he would have done it 30 years ago. He married for a lifestyle upgrade. He married for a retirement plan. He looked at the pros and cons, ran the numbers like the real estate agent he is, and closed the deal. He treats Amy well enough. He shows up. He plays the part. But it is a transactional relationship. She provides the security. He provides the companionship. She provides the chaotic warmth. He provides the cold stability. It is an exchange of goods and services. The tragedy isn't that he hates her. The tragedy is that she thinks this is a fairy tale, while he knows it is a merger. Do you think a man changes his stripes at 55? Do you think a lifetime bachelor suddenly wakes up one day and decides to become a stepfather and a reality star out of the goodness of his heart? Or is Amy just the final business transaction of a lifelong salesman? Look at the evidence I showed you. Look at the rigid hugs. Look at the obsession with Matt. Look at the silence of his past. And then tell me I am wrong. I want you to go to the comments right now. I want you to pick a side. Type Team Love if you think I'm crazy and that Chris is a genuine saint. Or type Team Scheme if you see the cracks in the mask. I want to see a war in the comment section. And do not click away yet. We are just scratching the surface. In the next video, we are going deep into the financial records behind the farm sale. We have uncovered documents that suggest the sale price wasn't what was reported to the public, and Chris Merrick's name appears in places you wouldn't expect. You do not want to miss that. Subscribe, hit the bell, and stay skeptical. Because on this channel, we don't believe the edit, we believe the evidence.